Right then guys, you asked me this question a lot, and that is, how do I get building inspiration? Well, today I have for you 5 towns that contain an abundance of Georgian architecture. We're going to use the medium of Google Maps here to go around and have a look at these towns. I'm going to show you guys some of the highlights of each of the area. So without further ado, let's get started with the most iconic Georgian town there is, the city of Bath. So we're here on Google Maps, and Bath can be found to the west of London, just below Bristol and Wales, over in what is known as the West Country. So the city itself is ancient, actually founded by the Romans or even pre-Roman, but what we're interested in today is the abundance of Georgian architecture here. So I have a few locations I wish to show you in the city centre. Let's change on over to the actual 3D version of the map. So if you don't know, Google Maps does have a 3D feature like so. You can tilt it, you can have a look around, you can come in here and you can play around with the orientations. So a great way of seeing Georgian architecture is looking for the geometric shapes, and we've spotted some straight away. So in Bath there are two main sort of feature pieces. This is the crescent over here, and over here this side is the circus, and these were built in around about 1750 to 1790 by different builders, but designed by I think the same architect. Now if we go on into actual street view, you get a really good view of the area. So Georgian architecture is designed to look like it's been built in a classical order, so you got all of these columns. Now the interesting feature about this is each column is a different order. So we've got the bottom here, Doric, Iconic, and then Corinthian as we go up through there. There's a small little fact for you, but as you take a gaze around this street, you can just see how inspiring it is. It gives me the real inspiration to come here and have it go building this myself one day, and you probably will see it on the channel. So the crescent is the similar sort of motif. If we come over here, you'll see the sweeping townhouses as they go around like so, built out of the really nice creamy coloured Bath stone that adorns the entirety of the city. And during the Georgian period, this was the main place to be. It had a beautiful spa you can go sit in over here. And so what you can do with Google Maps, like I am here, is just have a little play around. You can start seeing things like these interesting buildings. We've got the Guildhall there, which is actually leading me on to one of these other features. This is the Pulteney Bridge, which actually has shops along the side of it. Now, a great little bit of inspiration in this, as these are from the period of the Georgian times as well, and they've just been upgraded over the years. Now, I believe they are some of the only bridges that actually have buildings on in the entirety of the world. Correct me if I'm wrong, there may be a few more around about there, but these are still used as the shops they are intended to be. Now, there's a couple more things I want to show you on this quick whistle-stop tour, and that is the Holborn Museum down here at the end of this beautiful street of Georgian townhouses. Just look at how these buildings are. So plain, but yet elegant, detailed at the base, nothing in the middle, nice bit of cornice at the top there. But as you can see down the end here, we have the Holborn Museum that was actually used in one of the episodes for Bridgerton, that series on Netflix. I just love the building and how it sits here in the beautiful landscape of Sydney Park as well. This should be filling your mind with quite a lot of inspiration. The idea here is once you get into the main areas, you start poking around the place and going, ooh, what's that? Or you come back over this way and go, ooh, that's a really nice looking townhouse. And that is how you start the imagination running. And it's a great way as well of looking at real life design and how towns have been planned out, and you get a good sense of what's going on. So that was the city of Bath. Now there's again loads you can see. I was just doing a quick whistle stop tour there. Now it's time to move on to our next town, and that isn't too far from Bath actually. If we scroll out slightly, we'll get to the city of Bristol, the sister city to Bath itself. Now Bristol again is just a very nice Georgian / Victorian town. We will be back here for some more Victorian discussions later on. Now a few locations in Bath I want to show you is the Queen's Square, elegant Regency Square with lawns. Google Maps is already telling me it's a beautiful place to be. So the Regency period is linked in with the Georgian period. The Regency period started in around about 1790, ends around about 1837 with the introduction of Queen Victoria. Now the Georgian period started in 1715, and some of these houses are actually earlier than that. They were built under Queen Anne, so they're around about 16 something. But as you can see, a key feature of this square is the actual gardens in the centre, and that makes up a beautiful quadrangle that people can live around and use as their sort of daily gardens, because most of these houses don't really have any gardens. So a few other little features in Bristol will be over in this direction towards part of town called Clifton. So if we zoom out slightly, we come to the River Avon, and across the River Avon is the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which was built by Isambard Kinder Brunel, not a Georgian, but a Victorian. So we'll ignore that, take that out of your mind until later on. But But what we do come here for are the buildings around the green here. So if you look back across these, you'll see these beautiful, lovely Georgian houses again, and they're just so elegant, but yet plain and simple. So I hope this is filling you with some more ideas. We've got these later Regency style buildings, and what is a characteristic of those are these pagoda styled railings around here. You've got this nice ironwork at the front, but the buildings itself are still plain and I wouldn't say boring, but that is just how the Georgian buildings are. So next on the list, we got somewhere else to fly to. I'll see you over there. So next on the list is the town of Blandford Forum. As you can see, we have come slightly further south than Bath and Bristol to the area of England known as Dorset. Interesting story, Blandford Forum was again a Roman sort of settlement. They settled around here about 2,000 years ago, although before that it was Iron Age. Now in 1730 there was a massive fire that ripped through the place and allowed the entirety of the town to be rebuilt in a Georgian fashion. So I've got a few buildings to show you in here at the marketplace. So along this road here is the High Street, and as I mentioned, it has been rebuilt during the Georgian period, so you've got quite a nice bit of uniformity. What's cool is the use of flint and the different coloured bricks to give you a nice impression that these buildings aren't as plain as the ones in Bath and Bristol. What I like is the little keystones above the windows as well. And this gives you an impression that Georgian architecture isn't all just about those big grand faced buildings. You have all of these eclectic buildings as well, which help make up the town. And oh, just look at that. So down the end here we have the Church of St. Peter and St. Paul, which was built as a result of the fire, and it's one of the best examples outside of London of a Georgian church built during this time period. And honestly, I love it. I love the cupola on top there and the sort of slim neck of that tower. So that is Blandford Forum, so come and have a look at this place. There is some great inspiration there. Sticking along the south coast, we're going to head on even further over towards the east and to the town of Lymington. Now, members of the channel know Lymington is a place that I like to frequent, never shut up about, and I'm actually building a town based on it currently in my Let's Build Wolverhampton series. So I know the ins and outs of Lymington, and I can show you every bit of Georgian architecture in the town. But today we are just going to stick with a few along the high street, and I'll show you these now. So during the Georgian period, Lymington was renowned for its salt trade, which allowed it to build up its wealth, and with the wealth came the wealthy landowners. And what we've got along here are a couple of Georgian townhouses that are just enormous. So this is a lovely 5-bayed window known as the Red House, and this used to have very long gardens out towards the back. And we can see next door as well we have a beautiful Palladian styled building here, which was known as the Grover's House, but it's now been turned into shops. A little bit, you know, I don't like the base of this one, but the top seems to work quite nicely still. Sticking along the feature of townhouses along high streets, we have this beautiful beast of one as well. And I've got to say, whenever I'm in Lymington, I always have to take a little look at this building. It's got that proper nice mid-Georgian look to it. Very stripped down, very plain. The order is there, the features are there. There's just something beautiful about the way it sits here, haunched over. So another key feature of Georgian Lymington will be the church. You can see here the main body itself is actually a lot older than Georgian. It's mainly built between Norman Saxon times and even later, but on top in the 17th and 18th century they added this beautifully large cupola that you can now see for miles and miles around, and it's probably the main feature piece of Lymington. Down here we have an even older building that may have been built around 1690, so it isn't actually Georgian, but it follows the same suite of designs. You've got the windows in a nice order, you've got the parapet at the top there, and then the dormers above that. So that is Lymington. There is loads to see and do here, so make sure you come on over on Google Maps and just start scrolling up and down on the high street, as you'll see a lot of Georgian architecture. And our final town of today takes us back up over towards the West Country and the town of Cheltenham. Now Cheltenham is also a spa town just like Bath, which means during the Regency period the town grew up around its use of water in a hot spring, and all of the gentry used to come here and start building their nice townhouses. So speaking of townhouses, I can see the first thing I want to show you guys, and that is this beautiful crescent white-faced stucco buildings. You can see again these are Regency because of the way they've been using this nice ironwork around here. So whenever you see that screams Regency, you should know you're around about 1790 to 1820 on that one. These are the backs of them, so when you're designing the backs of townhouses, they don't have to be pretty. The fronts are nice, the backs are just a hideous mess of rain pipes and all sorts of windows at different angles. So moving across the town, I have a few more buildings I want to show you just to whet your whistle, give you the appetite to look around yourself. So here is a really interesting looking building. Built during the Regency period, it has this beautiful bow window around the front, this very strange roof section around the bottom, and the whole house itself just screams extravagant Georgian. Just look at it. I really want to build this in game, so you may see a video on that one point in another. So moving on, we have the last sort of section of buildings I wish to show you, and these are some absolutely gigantic Georgian villas. Now who wouldn't want to live in one of these? And what is great is just how 3D view gives you the proper look at the building, because obviously when you come down here it's obscured by trees and or people, but these buildings themselves are gorgeous and I recommend you having a go at building them yourselves. So guys, that has been 5 towns that contain Georgian building architecture that I really hope has inspired you to have a go at finding some yourself. Now let me know in the comments below if you have some towns and also some ideas on where you want this series to go. I've got an entire backlog of towns and cities I want to show you guys for both Edwardian, Victorian and more Georgian towns, but let me know if you want me to show off some other towns that contain different styles. So anyway guys, remember, get inspired, get building, and I'll see you next time.